Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Welcome back, dear ones.
Welcome back, guys. So, we just got done with meditation mantras and some messages as well from our friends up in the Galactic Federation and Laurel the Pleiadian. So, we want to share what we got for you. And you might be saying, why are we looking at the movie Prometheus? Well, because it's very, very there's a relevance here. There's a relevance for these times.
Yeah, definitely. From what I understand going into it, this is really quite a yucky energy we're dealing with.
Right. So what we got was basically that the energy released about 2 weeks ago is a real tough energy to deal with, which we understand. And we talk about the problem and the solution. We talk about the disease and the cure. And that we talk about also this war on humanity that's ongoing, war on consciousness, and the plague that's on the land. And what if the problem and the solution, the dis-ease and the cure, are actually one and the same?
I mean, I wouldn't put anything past them because this isn't the first time they've done this, and they know how to manipulate energy. They know how to get us, kind of down and at our worst to keep us where they want to keep us.
Yeah, exactly. And when we look at the movie Prometheus, just to give you an analogy of what's going on, it's really fascinating. And what really grabbed me at first was the vision. Well, there's the black goo, and there's a lot of talk about black goo out there as well. And, spiritually, we have been infiltrated by black goo, so to speak. And this black goo, this substance, is all about altering and changing that which is a natural progression in things. It's about hijacking. It's about taking over its host, so to speak. And what we see is that this black goo it's got a mind of its own. It is an entity. It's a being. It's like a doorway into the Borg, so to speak. It's a creature of a hive mentality that is meant to take over its host entirely and change its host from the inside out. And in this movie, we see a being, and the whole premise of this movie is that humanity uncovers like a map to the stars, so to speak, in a cave. And it's where our quote unquote creators came from. So then humanity decides to set out and go and meet the creators. And so interesting as this is depiction of one of the creators, and you could take that to be an Anunnaki type being, who is very, very large, huge, and as it turns out, not so benevolent. In reality, would just as soon squash a human as swat a fly, But the curious part is that these beings, well, apparently willingly, some of them at least, infect themselves with this black goo. And you got to ask the question, why would they do that? Because when they drink this black goo, they die. They die as what they were. And, in the case of this one, it goes through and it shows you in the movie the DNA like literally breaking, and the strands unraveling and everything changing. And here he just basically turns into black dust that gets carried away. it's really curious, and the movie doesn't really answer it except for give you the idea that it's kind of a bioweapon that's being tested. And Prometheus is a movie in the line of the Aliens movies that go all the way back to Sigourney Weaver, back in, I think, the 80s is when it first came out. But it's the one that, it's a prequel. So it's what happened before. And it does, interestingly enough, have a character in it that's very reminiscent of Hal, sort of, AI, artificial intelligence character as well, who has his own agenda going on and seeks to utilize the black goo.
Yeah, it's a pretty disgusting movie. I had a hard time watching it.
But at the same time, I felt it was so relevant because Prometheus, again, is the titan that gives man fire. And, fire can be used to create or destroy. And, of course, Prometheus is bound to a rock, under the orders of the gods, and is tortured every day by having his liver eaten, and then it regenerates, and then he's tortured by having his liver eaten again by a bird. And he goes through this for all eternity because he gave mankind fire. He gave mankind knowledge, and he wasn't supposed to. And again, this gets back into that fact that there are certain entities out there that view mankind as a slave race and will alter mankind as needed to keep mankind under their thumb. And right now, the energies coming in are changing us, and they really are changing us in a benevolent way, although we've been taught to fear the sun. And, the sun, again, is a relay. It's a transmitter. It's just, again, we've talked so many times about how the suns are very, very similar to, basically a brain when you get down to it. We're living in the mind of God, so to speak, and each sun is a neural relay sending information to everything around it. And, light is information. This is all about gnosis, and this is all about, which is knowing, but it's also about keeping humanity in the dark.
And I guess that's one thing that really sinks in deeper and deeper and deeper is how these entities are so willing and able and capable to put us in a place where they can control us completely. And we do have free will, but it's not always easy to step into that free will. That's the problem. They've made our lives so convenient around the foods that they give us. They've made our lives convenient around the way we make a living is what they give us. So it's very difficult to find your own way.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, and that's part of this whole bigger plan going on. So there's several, people that get invaded by these beings that then kind of grow feeding off their hosts. And then, there's several scenes where they literally give birth in a horrible kind of cesarean way from the inside out, so to speak. And, of course, the host perished. The host is gone. And there's like new creatures that come, and they're not the original. So, humanity becomes a host for these other things to come, which ultimately are not too nice. And it's all thanks to the black goo. And there's an analogy to be made here. And again, we talked about, the cause and the cure, and the potential that one can be the same as the other. And so, 2 weeks ago, there was released into humanity, again, another wave of these horrible energies that's really intended to create a very, very similar paradigm to what is portrayed in the movie, so to speak. So what can we do about this? Well, we have to fight it vibrationally. That is for sure. You have to also be very, very careful about eating right and exercise and diet. It's critical now. And as I had shared with you guys before, if you've been around, I was told by the guides that in 2021, absolutely no MEAT anymore. It's completely off the table, off the dinner plate, so to speak. And there's reasons for this. There's the obvious fact that we're changing vibration, we're going up in vibration, and we're going to be feeling what we consume has gone through, making its way to our dinner plate. So there is that, and then there's also the fact that it probably won't be safe anymore because of other things that are going to be and are being consumed by these other things that then we consume. So there's an awful lot of things that are being released right now, vibrationally, atmospherically, into the food supply as well.
Right. And it is going to become more and more and more important to be mindful about what we put in our body, because that's going to turn into what we are now, a human being. So if we're putting in sugars, if we're putting in preservatives and dyes and colors and chemicals, how that's not going to be able to help our vibration very well. And I think it's going to become more and more evident. People are just simply not going to be able to tolerate it. They're going to be able to eat a certain thing one day. Well, the next day you eat that thing again and you're ill. So I think that's kind of how it's going to work on an individual basis.
Yeah. So as we've been saying, fasting, intermittent fasting is a good tool. Exercise daily is key. You got to keep doing what you can to purge, to sweat stuff out, to speed it through your system and excrete it one way or another, either through certain processes or through the skin as well, from sweating it out. So, saunas and things like that are great. Allow yourself to sweat, get yourself breathing hard, and, exercise daily, every single day. Also do things that are uplifting to the spirit. So, like singing, music. A lot of people we've introduced to the Vedic mantras, and to people like Deva Premal and her husband Mitten and Sneddon Kaur and Ajit Kaur, and there's so many people out there that do a beautiful job singing these mantras that are very, very catchy, and they will lift you up in spirit. And it's so important for us right now to be lifted up in spirit as well, because we are basically heading up into a density that's more like a waking dream. So taking control of your waking dream is critical. Learning how to lucid dream in your reality is critical.
Mm-hmm. And, it's something that'll be happening. Maybe it might seem to be happening on accident, but I do think people are going to recognize what they're doing and take more and more control over the processes.
Yeah, the falsehoods are getting so easy to spot. It's just, you can't hide this anymore. So now this is an all-out assault. And just think about the NaNO tech that's out there, as we are, looking at just a small little smidgen of this black goo, which does have its, parallels in our reality that we find ourselves in right now. And so, this can be viewed as a takeover of consciousness itself. This can be viewed as, do you remember the old movie, Invasion of the Bodysnatchers? Yeah, there's analogies here that to be made that are very, very poignant and really on point. So it's critical, and that's what we got from Laurel, is that they're obviously extremely concerned with the situation down here. And they're watching it very, very closely, and they're trying to coach many. They're making contact with more and more people now as well. So you got to go within, and you might find guidance, and you might find yourself, connected to others in the Galactic Federation, other benevolent beings out there, the angelic realm as well. Call, if you're comfortable, most definitely call on the archangels for help. Call on your own guides and your own angels as well.
Mm-hmm. Very important. They're ready and willing and able to receive, information from you and have like a back and forth energy exchange, so that you have more personal guidance for your individual needs in your life.
When we look at this alien being, this extraterrestrial being contemplating his drink, you got to wonder, who in their right mind would drink that black goo? Who in their right mind would drink it? And then who could be in their right mind after consuming it, after taking it in? It's going to be a permanent change. And you have to recognize that as, the cups are being poured around the globe right now, and it's changing the collective consciousness. So that's another thing to realize. We could equate this also to the movie The Exorcist, for instance, because it is going to open the door to a takeover of consciousness. And this is, as we've said, you could go biblical with it and say it's a spiritual battle. Most definitely. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's a battle on more than one dimension. It's a battle of different densities. It's a battle. We could always break it down into simple terms, into black and white terms. And we could use parables, of course, to help people understand. But ultimately, this is truly a battle for the soul of humanity and the soul of this planet, but not just this planet. It's a much bigger battle than that. And as we said, it goes up into the higher realms, and it goes all around us as well.
Yes, as above, so below. And it is like they want to control our being, how we do things, how we go about things, as long as they have control, and they'll do what they need to do to take that control and keep it.
So, what are we talking about then? Well, I would look at labels. Now, we know we can't always trust labels because they've even put laws into effect where they don't have to tell you about things anymore. And that's all, again, intentional. But, if there's a laundry list of ingredients, throw it out. Just don't, I wouldn't give it to your dogs anymore. I wouldn't give it to anything to consume anymore. So when you see all those artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners, etc., or high fructose corn syrup, all these things, you're just speeding your own demise, is all you're doing. And you're opening the door to lose your grip on your reality and your own body. So we want to eliminate all those things. Focus on organic veggies and fruits and organic grains and things like that. And I know, there's a lot of debate on, grains. There's ancient grains you could go with, like quinoa, and we do eat a lot of rice and beans and lentils, and we're just used to it. But also, juice as well. These times are different, so you're going to have people that are going to want to do the paleo keto, but there's been so many different pathogens that are out there. We have bovine spongiform encephalitis, for instance. We've seen, that versions of that in the deer population. We've seen swine flu. We have bird flu out there. All these things are making their way to you on your plate. And more. There's more to come as well. And that's what we have gotten. So as I've shared before, I was told earlier this year that, proceed at your own peril as the year goes on if you're eating those certain things. And, things evolve. Just because we used to, eat things in the past doesn't mean we'll eat them in the future. As we evolve into a less dense form of humanity, and less dense, hopefully, in as far as intellect as well, as we know we've been far too easily manipulated.
Oh my gosh, have we? We have been manipulated, and they do take advantage of our naivety, and they have for a very long time. But all of that's coming to a close, thank goodness. And that's where our free will can step in, where we are more conscious about what we choose to put in our bodies. Because like Mike said, it is like a vibrational war, and you fight vibration with vibration. So I think that's a great way to put it.
Exactly. He who doesn't know what happened in the past and the history of the past will be doomed to repeat it. But at the same time, we are always changing, and we're always evolving, and we're heading upwards in vibration. So there will be those that, and there is a real big push to push back against the fake meats. But be aware, those things can have their hidden agendas going on as well. And who knows what's in some of those things. So, I would try to keep it as simple as possible, and just be aware of it. And you could test and see how you react to individual items. Because again, now, what was good for you yesterday may not be good tomorrow. And it might not even be the same substance that you were used to taking in, because so many things have been released. So again, eat as healthy as you can, lift up your spirits as much as you can, develop a internal practice, meditation, QiGong, yoga, Tai Chi. All these things are wonderful and critical, as well as, getting exercise on a daily basis that pushes you a little, as much as you are able to be pushed with your given conditions.
Right. Yeah. Just really speak to your body. Be easy on yourself. But I think we all know like what is pushing myself in particularly. So just be careful with that and listen to your body.
And again, I personally would not take that cup of black goo.
No, me neither.
Yeah, not a wise move. As always, guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure you're subscribed and have the bell clicked for all updates. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.